Recently, headlines have been swirling with claims that 2 European Union nations have officially joined BRICS, the influential bloc of emerging economies. These reports have sparked intense debate and speculation, with many wondering if we're witnessing a seismic shift in the global order. The idea of EU countries aligning with BRICS hints at a dramatic realignment of international alliances, potentially challenging the dominance of traditional Western powers. If these rumors were true, it would represent a historic break from the Western consensus that has shaped global politics for generations, sending shockwaves through diplomatic circles worldwide. But let's set the record straight. Despite the buzz, as of November 2025, not a single EU country has actually joined BRICS. The official membership list remains unchanged, and no formal announcements have been made by any EU government. The confusion likely stems from BRICS's recent expansion efforts and the diplomatic excitement surrounding countries like Turkey, which sits at the crossroads of Europe and Asia and often plays both sides in global affairs. Turkey, a NATO member and longtime EU candidate, has openly expressed interest in joining BRICS. This has fueled speculation and led some to believe that a broader European shift might be underway. But expressing interest is not the same as gaining membership. No EU state has crossed the threshold or formally joined the BRICS bloc, despite ongoing discussions and rumors. The real story lies with nations on Europe's periphery, such as those in the Balkans or Eastern Europe, who are exploring new partnerships and alliances as they navigate a rapidly changing world. This isn't evidence of the EU fragmenting, but rather a sign that the global landscape is shifting. Countries are increasingly seeking alternatives and options beyond the traditional Western blocs, reflecting a desire for greater autonomy and influence. The rise of BRICS is less about a dramatic break with the West and more about the world moving toward multipolarity, where power is distributed among several influential centers and nations have more choices than ever before. To understand the buzz, let's break down BRICS. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Emerging economies aiming to reshape global power. Their mission: reform global financial and political systems dominated by the West. They've built their own institutions like the New Development Bank to rival the IMF and World Bank. A key goal is de-dollarization, reducing reliance on the US dollar in trade and finance. BRICS champions the global South, giving developing nations a stronger voice outside the G7. By uniting diverse economies, BRICS offers an alternative model of cooperation based on equality and mutual respect. Its growing appeal shows the world's appetite for a more inclusive international system. 2024 and 2025 marked a turning point for BRICS with its biggest expansion yet. Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE joined at the 2024 Kazan summit, boosting the group's economic and strategic clout. Indonesia followed in 2025, adding Southeast Asia's largest economy to the mix. Now, BRICS represents about 45% of the world's population and over a third of global GDP by purchasing power. This isn't just about numbers, it's a strategic move to rival Western-led groups like the G7. The inclusion of Iran, long isolated by sanctions, signals BRICS' willingness to challenge the US-led order. Not every invitee joined. Argentina declined after a government change, but the expansion shows BRICS' growing momentum. The alliance is now a formidable force, reshaping global power dynamics. Turkey's bid to join BRICS drew global attention. Frustrated by stalled EU talks, Turkey saw BRICS as a way to diversify alliances and boost its global standing. President Erdogan pushed hard, touting Turkey's strategic location and independent foreign policy. But despite enthusiasm, Turkey's application stalled. BRICS operates by consensus, and not all members were on board. Russia seemed supportive, but others hesitated, especially after the 2024 expansion. Instead of full membership, Turkey was offered partner country status, a step below what Ankara wanted. For Turkey, this felt like déjà vu, another privileged partnership, instead of full inclusion. For now, Turkey's BRICS ambitions remain on hold. Why did Turkey's BRICS bid falter? On the surface, it seemed like a natural fit. Turkey is a major regional power, with a growing economy and a desire to play a bigger role on the world stage, but the reality was far more complicated. Geopolitics and rivalries played a big role. The BRICS group, made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is not just an economic club, it's a geopolitical alliance with its own internal tensions and strategic interests. India, a founding BRICS member, strongly opposed Turkey's entry after tensions over Kashmir and allegations of Turkish support for Pakistan. This dispute over Kashmir is deeply sensitive for India, and Ankara's vocal stance on the issue only deepened the divide. India used its economic leverage, blocking Turkish business deals and signaling it would veto Ankara's membership. This wasn't just about politics, it was about sending a clear message that India would defend its interests, even at the cost of economic ties. Turkey's NATO status also raised red flags. BRICS is seen as a counterweight to Western alliances. For many BRICS members, admitting a country so closely tied to NATO was a step too far. Admitting a NATO member risked internal contradictions and security concerns. There were fears that sensitive discussions could be compromised, or that Turkey might act as a bridge for Western influence. US pressure loomed large, too, with threats of tariffs if Turkey aligned too closely with BRICS. Washington made it clear that there would be consequences for drifting away from the Western bloc. For Turkey, whose economy is tied to Western markets, the risks were high. The country relies heavily on trade with Europe and the US, making any move toward BRICS a gamble with real economic stakes. The combination of Indian opposition, NATO ties, and US threats made full BRICS membership unattainable. Each obstacle reinforced the others, creating a web of challenges that Ankara couldn't overcome. Turkey's experience highlights the complex politics behind BRICS expansion. It's not just about economic potential but about navigating a minefield of alliances, rivalries, and global power plays. For now, Ankara remains on the outside looking in, its ambitions checked by the realities of international politics and the delicate balance of global alliances. To manage growing interest, BRICS created the partner country status. This flexible tier allows nations to cooperate with BRICS without full membership. It's a pragmatic way to expand influence, offering economic benefits and dialogue without the political baggage. Countries like Belarus, Bolivia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Cuba have already signed on as partners. This multi-layered structure lets BRICS grow strategically, keeping its core tight while building a broad coalition. For many, partner status is a valuable link to the bloc, without the risks of full membership. It's a smart solution for a world where alliances are in flux. The rapid expansion of BRICS combined with Turkey's growing interest signals a profound transformation in the global balance of power. What was once a club of emerging economies is now evolving into a force that can shape international norms and challenge the status quo. As more countries express interest in joining or partnering with BRICS, the group's influence is only set to grow. The era of unchallenged Western dominance is fading, giving way to a more complex multipolar world where influence is shared among several major players. This shift is not just symbolic, it's changing how decisions are made on everything from trade to security. BRICS Plus now stands as a credible alternative to Western-led institutions, offering the Global South a platform to push for reforms and greater representation. For many developing nations, this is a chance to have their voices heard on the world stage, and to pursue economic and political agendas that better reflect their interests. For Europe, this new reality is both a challenge and a wake-up call. The continent can no longer assume that its traditional alliances and influence will remain unchallenged. The rise of BRICS Plus means that Europe must adapt to a world where power is more widely distributed. The EU must rethink its approach to global engagement if it wants to stay relevant. As countries look for new partnerships and opportunities, Europe will need to innovate and build stronger, more flexible relationships beyond its usual circles. While the rumor of EU nations joining BRICS turned out to be false, it highlights a real trend. Countries everywhere are seeking to diversify their alliances and reduce dependence on any single bloc. The world is moving toward a more interconnected, yet fragmented system of partnerships. BRICS' new partner country model demonstrates its ambition to build a broad, flexible coalition that can adapt to changing global realities. This approach allows for greater cooperation and influence, even among countries that aren't full members. The world is clearly moving away from a unipolar moment, where one power dominated, toward a future with multiple centers of influence. This transition brings both opportunities and uncertainties, as nations navigate a more dynamic and unpredictable landscape. This isn't a return to the old Cold War, but it does mean more competition, more negotiation, and a greater need for diplomacy. Countries will have to work harder to find common ground and manage their differences. The global order is being redrawn before our eyes, and every nation, big or small, must find new ways to adapt and thrive in this rapidly changing world.